What is going on, Clippers fans? Welcome to Season 3, Episode 22 of Clips and Dip. We're coming at you 0-1. The Clippers lost their first game at Intuit.
Officially defeated at Intuit.
It is our year. It is starting not how you would want it to, per Will. But we're going to talk about our next day feelings about the loss to the Suns. We're going to be previewing the back-to-back. I am Chuck Mockler, joined by Adam Oslin and Will Updike. We have the full crew here tonight. Fellas, I usually ask how you're doing, but we got to talk about the Kawhi Leonard related lawsuit up top.
You don't care. You don't even care.
There was not today. There was a flurry of Clippers news. We got news that someone is suing the Clippers for how they've handled Kawhi's injuries. And then the team, I feel like, felt like they needed some better PR, so they immediately released information that they're trying to find a trade partner for PJ Tucker. The Kawhi lawsuit, I don't know. Adam, do you want to break down the background a little bit? Like, it's a former trainer who's suing the team for what it seems like is negligence for the most part.
Yeah, wrongful termination, I guess. Chris Haynes had the report about 5 hours ago. Former trainer Randy Shelton, to quote Chris Haynes in the article, is suing the franchise for wrongful termination, among other things, after he claims he was fired after complaining that Kawhi Leonard was being subjected to unsafe and illegal treatment for injuries. I read the entire thing. They mentioned the type of treatment they did. It was bio something, according to him in the lawsuit.
Okay.
There's a lot of... You had a perfect tweet about it. What did you say, Chuck?
So the issue with this lawsuit is they said this trainer is saying that the Clippers hastened Kawhi's recovery, which, if you followed the Clippers, doesn't feel like what happened, right, Will?
Wait, his recovery or his return?
Everything. The return, the recovery. Will, as a Clippers fan, would you say you felt that they've rushed Kawhi Leonard to getting back to the basketball court throughout his injuries?
Look, no. I mean, I think if there was anyone who would be rushing it, it would probably be Kawhi and his camp. And I know I know for some fans that sounds far-fetched or hard to believe, but there is nobody who wants to be on the floor more and faster than Kawhi Leonard. Like, that's just, I'm sorry, that's just the fact of the matter. You're not one of the best players if that's not like your mindset and your mentality. That's what he lives and breathes for. So I think if there was anyone, it would most likely be on that side of things. I can't see the Clippers as an organization. Look, I'm not saying they're perfect. The fact that many fans know names of the athletic staff is enough of an indication that they're probably not perfect, right? But at the same time, I still don't think they're the organization that's going to push a player, especially a high-profile player, a player that you've now put essentially your franchise on the back of. I just can't see them rushing that person back or taking any sort of unreasonable measure. And that's sort of where what you have to hit, right? Like, let's say this did somehow go to a lawsuit and this was part of it. In civil court, it's a preponderance of the evidence. It's more likely true than not. Correct? So
sure.
Would you sitting there today, October 24th, 2024, think it's more likely than not that the Clippers rushed Kawhi Leonard back? Like, I'm not seeing it.
And Kawhi specifically is so particular about his health. If he got any kind of vibe, remember what happened with the Spurs when he was getting the feeling that they were trying to rush him back? He said, F you, I'm going to leave. And they catered to Kawhi. If you've, and I don't say that with a negative connotation, but we all used to sit and wait for him and PG to come out after game. Like, whatever Kawhi wanted, he gets from the Clippers. You can view that however you want, good or bad. That's been the case the whole time. I don't think they would. I think they're not messing with his health.
I would encourage people to remember a certain game in the second half of the 22-23 season. I believe it was in Memphis, where Kawhi didn't play the second half out of nowhere. His teammates didn't know. It didn't seem like Coach Lou knew. And this is somebody you're saying that could be rushed back by the organization who just didn't play a second half out of nowhere? You think that's plausible? Like, I don't know what the truth is. It's a lawsuit. We'll see how it plays out. But between that, the comment about how he needed 730 days off after the ACL and therefore they rushed him back by not keeping him out for 2 entire years.
Yeah, it's 2006. Like, we're going by like.
And then also the wording of he played significant minutes in his first 2 games back from the ACL, which were games where he came off the bench against the Lakers and then against the Suns where he could play no more than 21 minutes. I don't know if I'd say that's significant minutes. It just seems like, I don't know, a lot of the verbiage in there about how he was lured away from San Diego State where he had a prestigious position there. It just seems like the guy, I don't know, he's playing the victim quite often here in the lawsuit, and that's what he's claiming, and he's going to have to prove it. And from what we know about the situation, just from what we've observed with Kawhi Leonard and how it's been handled over the last 5 years, I mean, everyone's been talking about how they load manage him too much, how he's not playing enough. And now you have a guy saying he's actually been playing too much. It's hard to reconcile that.
It doesn't feel, it feels like settlement search.
Well, and I don't know. So, like, we don't know the details of the wrongful termination. Okay, like that part,
sure,
that might be legit. I have no idea. But like a lot of stuff like this, it makes for a great headline, but it's not that strong for your case. Because if there was any sort of significant evidence of this, you would get paid out before there was ever a thing. Because if this goes to court, win or lose, you have to give deposition. People from the Clippers staff are going to have to give deposition. If this Kawhi thing is somehow in it, which I don't think it will be, I don't see a judge including that. But if it was, he would also have to give deposition. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not a nothing thing. And so, well, I think that maybe parts of it, that, there could be a nugget of truth. I don't know. I'm not there. I have no clue. So I can't really speak on that. But I think like adding on a bunch of stuff like this is, not only not great for your case, but it's just not a good look in general.
And we have the whole lawsuit as the other. Chris Haynes just tweeted out the whole lawsuit. Like, and I can't imagine.
To be fair, these things are a matter of record.
That's true.
It only took like 45 minutes to read the whole thing, though. It's not as, drowning you in paperwork as you would assume for a lawsuit in this case, I guess. But I like what Will said there. Just seems like he's maybe hurting his own case, acting like he has an axe to grind within some of the wording that's going on there. But we'll see.
And also look at, like, there's owners in all sports where you read about them and you say, I don't know if that person really has a handle on maybe everything in the organization. Steve Ballmer does not strike me as someone who would have a legal team that would be easily defeated, let's just say, in matters like this. It's just, it feels like a cash grab. To me personally, it feels like some kind of cash grab. I hope nothing
with the extra stuff. You know what I mean? Like, if this was just a wrongful termination, then it's kind of like, I have no idea. We don't know enough to speak on it. But when you add in like sort of this extraneous stuff, it's kind of like, okay, so you're telling me that they fired you to like cover up that they were like rushing him back against your advisement. I don't know. I don't know.
And look at the timing. The Intuit Dome opened yesterday. You know what I mean? Like, I just think that helps for, like, this was going to get eyes anyway, but the timing of it, you're like, okay, so the day after the regular season starts, we get this.
It's not a coincidence.
Yeah, right? Like, he didn't just wake up and deal with it. I don't know. I hope everything gets resolved and Kawhi doesn't have to waste his time being deposed.
The Clippers statement is pretty strong, by the way.
Yeah, you want to read it? Didn't they just say, like, we paid him? Like,
yeah, we said, quote, Mr. Shelton's claims were investigated and found to be without merit. We honored Mr. Shelton's employment contract and paid him in full. This lawsuit is a belated attempt to shake down the Clippers based on accusations that Mr. Shelton should know are false. That's firm.
I mean, yeah, They're saying they paid him out, which there's record of, I'm assuming.
It was cash. Ooh.
Dude.
But Big Worm paid him?
Yeah. I call Big Worm to the stand. But yeah, like again, I'm not trying to defend like a $3 billion team or whatever, but that point about like all this extra Kawhi stuff, it's like it feels just a little like, come on, man. Like they were shooting him up with like wacky stuff to try and like Kawhi. If this guy was Kawhi's trainer, also, that's not
till 2017. That part also interests me.
Oh, wait, what?
Oh, shit.
He was. Yeah, that's what it said from what I read in the lawsuit. He was till 2017. And okay, the timing of that includes some of that time with the Spurs and the murkiness surrounding the injury. So what happened then? And then the Clippers brought him in a couple years later when they got him, when they got Kawhi. I don't know. There's a lot that's unresolved here.
Adding the tampering part, I think, is so funny.
Like, which apparently is, it's not part of the lawsuit.
Yeah, like he just added that
try to hurt them.
And that's another one of those things where it's like, man, you are really muddying the waters with like, I could see this being a legitimate claim if it was like maybe a little bit more streamlined.
Narrow focus, right? Like not as, because it is funny to me, like I wish I could sue NBA teams for tampering. I would sue every team in the league for tampering as a private citizen.
Chris Haynes said lawyers for Randy Shelton.
Okay, if Raiden was suing the Clippers, we would be in big trouble.
Yeah, that would have came faster though. Lightning, Randy Shelton says he's willing to talk with the NBA about his knowledge of how the Clippers recruited Kawhi. Quote, though not part of damages relief sought by Shelton, he'll fully cooperate with the NBA should league investigators consider prosecution and sanctions against the Clipper.
Wasn't this already investigated? Wasn't this already investigated by the NBA?
I'm pretty sure.
Am I making that up?
Let me do a quick Google. Well, it's going to be flooded with all these new results.
I think you're right. There's a lot of things that happened today that I thought already had happened.
No shit.
Yeah, I can't wait to get into some of the other ones.
Yeah, like I think you're, and like it's just also like
because we know it was aggressive. Like we know, but again,
every team tampers. That's why free agency starts at 5 p.m. and every deal is done by 5:02.
That's the thing. I mean, like we happened to be the most plugged into the Clippers. We knew that yes, for an entire season, someone was there at Kawhi's games. Like we know that. That's nothing new. To me it's strikingly similar to like Philly's courtship of Paul George last year. It's like, yeah, there were no secrets. Like we know what you were doing. You were doing it the whole time. And that's, like
we see you, Paul.
Is it fine? Is it not? Like I really can't tell you. I think it depends, and the league needs to either come up with a bright line rule or just continue to do nothing. And either way, I think is fine. I just think you can't pick and choose. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
totally.
you can either say, hey, we're not really gonna care about this stuff unless you do something really blatant.
Yeah, unless you get in a car or something. Yeah, like
but if there's no bright line rule of what you can and cannot do, then I think it's really weird to try and to try to dredge this stuff up for some sort of like punitive effect.
Like we're gonna penalize teams for having scouts at every game.
Exactly.
If you've been to a game, you see, the Pacers are here at this Clippers versus Mavs game.
Look at the media seating chart at any freaking game during an 82 game regular season. Like it's just that's just part of the game though too. You know what I mean? Like how are scouts supposed to do their jobs if they're not at the games? Like, how are you supposed to assess fit if they're not at the games? Like, there's all sorts of like legitimate reasons that have nothing to do with tampering. And like, without a bright line rule from the league, how do you discern one from the other?
And isn't the overwhelming reason for the tampering rule to protect small markets?
Yeah.
Where they're trying not to have it so big markets can say, hey, come here because you'll end up making more money off the court and all these other things. But it's almost becoming, I don't want to say antiquated, because big markets still matter, of course, but I don't know if it matters as much as it used to get the amount of publicity you can get in today's day and age with marketing and advertising.
It's called the internet. Have you heard of the internet? Pretty wild stuff on there, man. You can be from anywhere and make money anywhere.
Yeah, like we talk about SGA. Oh, is he going to leave in 2026? Like, he didn't know. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, everybody would say hashtag future Laker or hashtag this, and those
They
big markets
Photoshop it. Yeah.
Yeah, the NBA is a farm system for the Knicks and the Lakers or something like that. It's not really the case anymore. You can be a franchise kind of unto yourself. Like, you
The way
don't
that
need
media
the
works
help.
now.
You
Yeah,
can
the way
have
that-
you can have huge, massive commercials as a shooting guard in Oklahoma City.
Exactly.
It's
you can have the most annoying commercial of all time as
I know, but it got a lot of play is the thing. Like they got, your exposure. I like that point, Adam. Like your exposure is clearly not limited anymore. It's just not. It's not an issue.
This 24-hour news cycle we live in, everyone's on their phones.
I think also a huge thing that has changed is like the NBA. I think for a lot of fans is much more about players than it is teams. You know what I mean? Because it used to be like if you were Giannis, maybe outside of Milwaukee, like not as many people would be into you, but because of the caliber of player that he is, you have fans freaking everywhere.
Like Larry Johnson.
Everywhere.
It makes me think of Larry Johnson for the Hornets, dude. If Larry Johnson was playing now with this everyone would like, obviously he was a big star, but like his impact would have been like, it's just so, that is a good point. Well, I guess we'll see what happens with this. The other big news, which this is another thing that I had thought had already happened.
This was the one I was referring to. My favorite.
PJ Tucker's been given permission to find a new team. I thought this had already happened.
Let's go!
Where he wants to contribute to winning.
I think you guys gave him permission at the beginning of last season, actually.
Yeah, we've been fine with this for a year.
I think I gave him permission in the Philadelphia trade.
But like, I don't know. The timing of this was funny too. I genuinely feel like the team was like, "Oh shit, let's make it official." I guess. What
was that? Just to try to bury the lawsuit?
I think it was maybe just to add more information about the Clippers. Just to, I don't know, but like, it is funny that it came out like what, an hour after the lawsuit stuff.
When do you guys think though they realistically gave him permission?
The All-Star break.
Yeah.
Last year, absolutely. When he was sent home, I think 100%.
Yeah.
So
I think if any team was willing to take on this salary, it would be it'd be a done deal.
Once the Nuggets trade for PJ Tucker, are they unstoppable now that they have PJ Tucker and Russ?
Well, they have the only guy that can stop Jokic, so now he's unstoppable.
Shit. Where do we see him go? All right. 90 seconds and we'll never talk about PJ Tucker again. Where do you think he's going? He wants to contribute to winning, which he's so bad. He quite literally does the opposite of that. Where is he going?
It just depends. Like, do we have to get like, are we getting something back of value? Because there's no team that's like,
we're getting cash considerations. He will be traded for cash considerations. You're not giving up an asset.
I could see the Suns, maybe.
Sure.
I know where Adam Silver would recommend he go and what language he'd have to learn how to speak should he go to this place.
Yeah, can we trade him for someone in like who plays for like Real Madrid or something? Like some Can you trade continentally? Like, how would that work? I don't know. Where the quote is so funny. Sources: LA Clippers granted permission for PJ Tucker's agent Andre Buck to speak with other teams to facilitate working on a trade. Both sides continue working together while the veteran remains away from the team, waiting for an opportunity to contribute to winning. Boo hoo. Make it sound like
Can I just say also this
house.
is like such a bummer because I have been a pretty big fan of PJ Tucker throughout his career.
Yeah.
He has been like a player that I have like legitimately loved and rooted for. And it is a bummer that this is the way that it's all ending. And I got to be real with you. It's through no fault of his own. It's not his fault that he got that contract. He played really well. It's not his fault that he got traded. It's not his fault that he's old. That's just what happens, man. I don't like the stuff where he was like, kind of like talking to the media a bunch about his role and how unhappy he was and how he could contribute. That stuff, that stuff I don't like. But I just have to say, like, in a vacuum, this situation is it's just not really PJ Tucker's fault.
Is it his fault that he opted into $11 million with a team he knows is not going to
Would you not?
I would do
Would
the same
you
thing.
turn
That's
down
fine.
$11 million?
And I would also take the responsibility of not
yeah.
saying, well, now you have to trade me that I opted in. That's what I would not do.
Spirit. That's how you make the league. That's the
I guess I don't have the dog in me.
In the league.
I guess, hey, the dog is out. I let the dog out of myself. Is what happened.
Who let it out?
I let the dogs out of myself. Yeah, thank God he's not with the team, though. This would be a lot worse.
It's like a freaking Modelo over there.
Yeah, he's working on lowriders.
He's got the fighting spirit.
That ad campaign is wild as hell. All right, we've gotten all of that stuff out of the way. We're going to talk our next day feelings about Clippers versus Suns. We got a quick ad break. And then next day feels about the first game against the Suns coming up in 3, 2, 1.
Hey, how's it going? Welcome back into Clips and Dip, your favorite Clippers podcast. We talked about the latest news surrounding the Clippers. Now it's time to travel backwards to a mere 24 hours ago when the Clippers lost their first game at Intuit in a hard-fought but a little bit hurtful loss against the Phoenix Suns. Adam, you've had a little bit of time to breathe. I know that you were hurt by this one. Where are you at right now?
Still in pain. Only because, it's insane to overreact to one game. But when it's a game that plays out in a lot of ways as we expected for months, with their defense being very good and their offense going through a lull where at one point they went 6 minutes without scoring in the second quarter, and then they still had a chance to pull it out somehow, and you're up by 9 with under 4 minutes left, that's one you have to win. Like, I hope they learn from it, but going forward, they're in a game like that, you just have to win it, because those are the ones that I think about late in the year that got away from you and where you end up in the standings. It's that type of thing for me. I'll have a hard time forgetting that. It was the first game at Intuit Dome, and everything else went awesomely, splendidly, except for losing. It was an exciting game. Intuit Dome went off without a hitch. Everybody was having a great time. If they just win that game, it's the perfect night, right?
Yeah, Harden had a chance. The game winner bounced around. He did miss the crucial free throw, which didn't feel good. I would have liked him to make that. But like you said, love the defense. The defense was awesome. Like we believe in what they were talking about in the preseason and stuff like that after seeing what the defense did. And the offense, man, some of those all bench lineups, little wonky there.
Those are questionably even NBA caliber teams. Adam, I gotta ask though.
Yeah.
After one game, I know we can't read too much into one game. How do you feel about the potentiality of KPJ in the starting lineup?
Potentiality.
Well, I mean, I was playing the long game. I know it sounded like a hot take and it got attention. I got to be responsible for that. And I got to be accountable for that. And I need to be held accountable for that. Because I wanted a little bit of attention and it brought it my way. So now if things go the wrong way,
you sound
like didn't it seem like more of the same from
I got to
KPJ?
take my licks. He didn't get 19 points in the game like he averaged for an entire season. It was
That's not what I'm
same.
talking about. I'm saying ball dominant, poor shot selection, not great defense, not really setting up others. It seemed like more of the same from what we've seen of his skill set thus far in the league.
He had a steal and score.
I thought
I stand corrected.
Didn't he have one really nice assist? I think his defense was okay. I think going 1 for 8, because the problem with KPJ is he is a tough shot taker and can be a maker. But when those shots don't go, they look really bad, especially from somebody who hasn't proven themselves in a Clippers uniform at all and in the NBA.
And who seems to have no interest in like offensively off ball, who seems to have no, if the ball is not directly in his hand, seems to have absolutely zero interest in being on the court.
We got to keep an eye on that. I wonder if that was, because I noticed that at the game, I wonder if that was first game not feeling totally comfortable.
I will say the
watch
offensive playbook, especially for those all bench lineups, did not seem to be that well integrated. Like it did not seem like guys knew where they were supposed to go. Because I thought Chris Dunn didn't look like as good of an initiator as he has been throughout his career. And I do blame the playbook or how much of it has been sort of implemented in that a little bit.
It wasn't a well-oiled machine that KPJ was stopping with his shot attempts.
No.
Right?
Guys, his first stint, I don't blame him at all for taking those shots. Who was he on the floor with? Tell me who he was on the floor with and who should have been taking those shots instead.
You know what? That's fair enough, Adam.
Yeah, like that.
Who was going to be able to create out there? Zoo wasn't even out there his first stint. It was like him.
Batum.
We got a guy sitting at home away from the team right now who could put up more shots than Paul George in the second half. I can't even finish the bit. I can't even finish the bit.
That is why he's on the team. In those moments without James Harden, where nobody else is a shot creator out there and somebody has to at least be able to get shots up. And I don't know if the other guys really could without having their shot blocked or just feeling so uncomfortable.
Junky, yeah.
Like I think offensively, there cannot be stints without one of Norm Powell or James Harden on the floor.
Or maybe Zoo. Kai was good. That's not a knock on Kai. I liked what Kai did in game one offensively.
No, but Zoo still needs someone to set him up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so like that's a great point because we talk about Harden's scoring being needed, right? Though too, his passing, like who's the second best passer on this Clippers team, and how far below James Harden are they in terms of making things happen with initiating?
Is it Chris Dunn? I mean, like as currently constructed.
I think it might be KPJ or Jordan Miller or Bones Highland
at passing.
The
Bones thing is interesting because if KPJ continues, not saying that he will, like, are we just as Bones just DNP for the rest of the season? Because
well, that's the other thing too. Is like, okay, well, I mean, I think from game one, again, not to overact from game one.
Well, you've mentioned it's our year, so you're not overreacting at anything.
There's no way in my mind, like there's no way in hell that KPJ should be ahead of Amir in the rotation. And
Amir can't do what he does. He can't.
Yeah, no,
they're completely different players.
I know, but we don't need four guards, and if we're gonna have like four small players plus a center, I don't think that KPJ should be in that lineup.
I don't think their skill sets cross over. Like they're guards, but KPJ can run high pick and roll. Like he has averaged 6 assists per game multiple seasons.
Yeah.
Like he can play point guard and initiate offense. Like I don't know. I like Amir and he was awesome. I mean, I get that. And I think there's a real situation where Chris Dunn, the problem is he's not a threat to really score on ball. He's not really a threat to score off ball unless he's wide open. He did knock down his 3-pointer they left him open for.
Ooh, and that point of attack defense. Ooh.
Yeah, he embarrassed KD on a play.
Yeah.
But if you're going to play Jordan Miller to me, and I hope this happens, and I wish it happened last night. I wish Jordan Miller played last night, honestly.
With how things were going, yeah. I don't see a strong enough argument against it.
If Amir's cold and Norm is cold and everyone else is cold, right? Like from 3, or just Jordan Miller.
Batum picked up 3 fouls in his 20 minutes, and were all 3 of them off ball. The whistle on Batum was brutal, and he was getting into it with the officials. Now, it's night 1. You're trying to win and chase a game. I want Nico Batum out there. I get it. But maybe just to juice up the offense during that 6-minute stretch to see what Jordan Miller could do when nothing was working in the second quarter, you give him a minute and just see what happens. Because how much worse could it possibly have gotten after you've already gone 6 minutes without scoring?
Yeah.
But if you do play him, to Will's point about Chris Dunn bringing the ball up the floor, if you're not playing KPJ or if you don't want Bones because of his defense, like play Jordan Miller at the 2, maybe next to Chris Dunn at the 1 with the backups. I'd try it.
I like it. There were some good mixed bench and starter lineups. Will, you just kind of talked about not having Norm or Harden off the court at any time. Harden, Norm, Derek Jones, Nico, and Zoo played the second most minutes, 5 of any lineup, plus 6. Fun lineup. That lineup makes sense. It's not like that crazy of a difference. And then Norm, Dunn, Terrence, Amir, and Zoo were plus 3 in 4 minutes. 4th most played lineup. Ty Lue was shuffling guys out. The starters played 10 minutes together or whatever it was. So there's some building blocks, right? I think last night was a lot about building blocks and the defense, but they do like the next most important building block is the bench and starter lineups being figured out. Because it was when it's all bench, that's when things get bad.
Yeah. How long did they play all bench?
Let me look up the lineups.
Was that the KPJ lineup where I'm going like, who is scoring in this lineup?
Absolutely. That was all bench. That was all bench. Like Kai was at the 5. It was Nico, Dunn, KPJ, and I think maybe Amir.
Yeah. Is it in lineup data you were just looking at?
One sec.
Because I'm kind of surprised that even happened. Like Will saying, like Normer James Harden should probably be out there.
Yeah, there was some all. Yeah, all right, hold on. All teams.
I wonder if that's due to Zoo being pulled so early like that, and that just
had to have been the whistle. Well, we talked about it. Remember, we talked about worst case scenarios in our game preview, and one of them
I do think Zoo is going to continue to be the first sub. Just based on the data that we have historically.
Yeah, it's fair.
Batum, Chris Dunn, Amir Coffey, KPJ, Kai Jones played 3 minutes. They were minus 3.
That could have been a lot worse.
Yeah. Well, they brought Norm in after that shift, and that's when things got a little better for that lineup because I think Norm hit a couple buckets, and they had to kind of respect the spacing a bit. But that's what game 1 is for, right? You got to figure this shit out.
I mean, it's tricky. I'm not saying that it's easy. I'm not saying that I have like a clear like a lineup.
I have rotation, the plan.
Yeah, that would have solved this thing. But yeah,
you're gonna sue the Clippers.
Especially, I don't know. Yeah, especially if you do end up having to split Harden and Norm a little bit. I mean, that puts a little bit that puts a little bit more pressure on Harden, and it makes Norm have to be more than a score first guy at times. Not obviously not all the time, but at times. So it's difficult. It's not an easy decision. And that's the thing. That's the thing that we were talking about, right? Like this year, the margins for this team are just so slim. It could be a 3 to 6 minute shift over the course of an entire 48 minutes that loses you a game. And I know that that's the case for a lot of teams, but it just hasn't been our case for a while.
Yeah, I like that.
Hey, KPJ goes 1 for 8 and looks that bad again on Saturday. I'm calling for Bones. Like, I don't think you can wait. Like,
you're on the bone phone.
I don't want to be
still with the team. Like, I just don't. I don't get why he wouldn't get any look.
And he played not insignificant minutes in the preseason.
And he looked decent in the last game. And I just, against Denver, they can't start 0-3. And they could be staring that in the face this weekend. It's a tough back-to-back. That's the other reason last night hurt. Because it's like, well, crap. They better get one this weekend or they're starting 0-3 before Portland.
That just gave me I never get heartburn. That instantly gave me some indigestion thinking about the 0-3 start.
And while some think that's a reason not to play Jordan Miller because he's unproven, don't we all feel like Jordan Miller can play now? He can help them now. At least give him a look.
There were fans.
I think you have to give him a look.
When we were walking out, there were fans just talking to each other who were like, where's the Miller kid? Like I was looking for Jordan Miller. Like, yeah, like
However, none of that is the reason they lost that game. They had a
No, of
9-point
course.
lead with 3:52 left.
Yeah.
They had a 10-point lead in the fourth too. Just execute. Don't throw that awful pass to Ivica Zubac. James Harden there just having a brain fart. Like,
And a horrible Harden three. The
yeah,
3-point
that pick
attempt,
three from 30 feet out.
the heat check that, like, what heat are you checking? That hit front rim. That was brutal. That was not a good decision. But that's where, right? This is where the fatigue factor comes in and things like that. Like, yeah. And you saw Harden get tired. That fourth quarter possession, I think, or was it overtime? He had the ball up top. He tried to take it to the rim, got denied, passed it out, looped back around, got the ball back, tried to take it to the rim, got denied. Like, he's got to embrace the mid-range a little bit more as the season goes on, or
I also
more
thought
of an organized play called right there, I guess.
I also thought in the first half when he was struggling a little bit, there were a couple of times he didn't get the call, and I thought he kind of strayed away from going inside. I thought that he was a little less aggressive and looking to pass out sooner. So I hope that changes, because when he was more aggressive, I thought it looked obviously it looked a lot different.
Totally.
He doesn't have the same step, as he did when he was younger, but still, you got to go in there with the intention.
Yeah. Well, it's like, remember we used to talk about like those fake Paul George drives where he would go, you're like, I can tell as soon as you get the ball, you're just trying to get the whistle like on this play. But yeah, the Harden thing, Law Murray tweeted this out. And I think I actually have a pessimistic feeling about this. Harden never had more than 5 turnovers in a game for the Clippers last season.
Is that right? Damn.
Yes. I saw a Law tweet it out, and we immediately checked it.
With no training camp?
I think that is more of an exception than the rule. Because he had 8 yesterday. So
yeah,
I'm not saying he's going to average like 10 turnovers or whatever. You know what I mean? But like,
no, some of that is definitely because how many shots did he attempt per game last year? Was it 11 to get to his 16 points? Like, turnovers aren't just a passing thing; it's a tiring thing.
11.4, and he's after one game, he's at a cool 28.
Like, that's what wears you out. That's what's taxing. And that is my biggest concern coming out of last night. They needed so much from Harden to get back. He had 25 in the second half.
It was crazy.
Was cooking Tyus Jones over and over again. They kept hunting the mismatch. It was working, which makes that play against Kevin Durant with that long three-pointer more inexplicable, because Phoenix was willing to switch all day and give him Tyus Jones if he wanted it, and he was getting them. So some decision-making mistakes. He was hard on himself post-game.
Yeah,
and I appreciate his leadership so far this year. Like, it's been pretty I don't know, extensive. I didn't expect it to be like this with James Harden.
The Suns were also doing a thing too, where as soon as Zoo would get the ball, they would kind of like double. They would just double him. They would crash. 2 guys would crash Zoo. I don't think he's really used to that, right? Like, we talk about Zoo needing to be more of an offensive focus. Other teams know that too. So they're going to make him uncomfortable with soft doubles and making him make decisions. And it works in the beginning. He recovered. He went 0 of 3 to start and then made 8 of 9 shots. So he figured it out a little bit, but teams are going to blitz for what Zoo is a lot more this season.
They definitely got away with going small much more than I would have liked down the stretch. Like, that process was right. They should have been going to Ivica Zubac. They got Booker to foul out that way. But the bad pass from Harden on the Jones steal, that was tough. And you got to take advantage of having the biggest guy out there against a team like that. And they really didn't do so. And part of it's on Zoo. The offensive foul on Royce O'Neal, like, was totally unnecessary.
Yeah, that's a good call. Yeah. All right. Final thoughts on the game 1 before we move on to this. Now I'm terrified. Back-to-back coming up this weekend for the Clippers.
I mean, this is just how a lot of games are going to go, which is the tough part.
So I said this. I want to get your guys' take, because I said this on the stream last night. Do you think the Clippers will have more overtime games and, by an extent, more overtime losses than any other team in the NBA this year? They have the defense to keep things close. You know what I mean? They have the offense that can kind of keep it close and maybe put you over the edge, but it's a perfect combination for a stressful ass regular season.
So they only had one last year, right? That Lakers game, the first game.
No,
And-
didn't the Kings game where they, or am I a year ahead or a year behind?
2 years ago, the 176, 175.
I don't know how time works anymore.
I feel like last year the only overtime game was early in the season against the Lakers, maybe, and they lost it. The one where Paul George fouled out right away was a really bad foul early in overtime.
Paul George?
Yeah,
Bad foul?
they already got one in now. Yeah, I think that's a decent bet. The Clippers are going to lead the league in overtime games.
So they
will play more clutch minutes than they have played in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
They had one overtime game. Yeah, it was the Lakers. That was the only one they had.
Yeah, like there's going to be a lot of close games. There's going to be a lot of close games. They have to execute, and if you're up 9 late like that, because like their defense faltered a couple of times in transition because of bad shots on the offensive end.
Yes.
Their offense led to terrible defense on the other end.
And James, honestly, like the vet, the man, the system himself was guilty of a few of those.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I would assume he'll be better than that.
Yeah, game 1, new crowd, new arena. You know, we'll figure it out. Thankfully, I guess they have 2 away games this weekend that we're about to talk about. We got a quick ad break for the audio listeners. Want to give just a quick shout out to, if you're new to this pod, thank you so much for hanging out. We're available audibly. We're available visually and audibly. If you want to just do the visuals, just put the YouTube on mute. But it's a good time. We welcome everyone new. If you're an opposing fan and you're trying to make the clip flip, something Will and I used to do on our first Clippers podcast, where we would bring a non-Clippers fan on and try and convince them to become a Clippers fan. Worked every time. Welcome. Come hang. We're coming at you a couple times a week. It's a good pod. And if you've stayed with us through this whole time, as Will says, we appreciate you. Coming up, we're talking the back-to-back and giving our James Harden, Kawhi Leonard player of the game back-to-back picks for both games. There's some quick ads on the audio coming up in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back in. It's Clips and Dips, Season 3, Episode 22. I'm Adam Moslem. We got Will Updike and Charles Mockler here. And the first back-to-back of the season.
Use my government name, I guess.
Big Chuck Mockler. Saturday's game is in Denver. Not only is it in Denver and they have to deal with the altitude and Joker and Jokic and a team that's healthy to start the year, I think, for the most part. They're playing tonight. They have to deal with an early afternoon start. They can't get away from it. They can't ever get away from it.
I actually think they might have the advantage for this early afternoon start.
Tell me.
It's the Nuggets play the Thunder Friday at 7 p.m.
I think that's tonight.
Oh, is that tonight? I thought they were the second night of a back-to-back.
No.
Oh, no. Google did me wrong. Oh, yeah, no, we're screwed. I take everything back. I take everything I just said back. Yeah, the 2 p.m. Why is this game being played at 2 p.m.?
Is this Dodgers World Series related? It's your Dodgers fault. It's your Dodgers fault.
They're playing in Denver. Why is this game at 2 p.m.? Is there a rodeo? Is there an avalanche? Is it the Avs home opener?
Maybe. Yeah, good old Avs. Patrick Waugh. It could be that.
Fuck the Avs. Avalanche schedule. It's not because of that.
It's because of the Clippers.
Why are they playing at 2?
They just can't help themselves.
That's fair. So what could go well in this Nuggets versus Clippers game? Historically, it has not gone well. What do we think the Clippers can do to beat this Nuggets team?
Big Zoo performs against Jokic as he has in the past. He's always risen to the challenge against Nikola Jokic. Not always, but relative to what most people are able to do against him.
Sure.
He legitimately has the best defensive numbers against Jokic in the league. Now, that probably means he's going for 50 on Saturday now because I said that, but he has held his own. I don't know what it is. They have to start faster on the offensive end, though. So if Big Zoo could have a big game and get it going early to get them into their offense, that'd be great.
Norm, too.
Part of that is on him, too, because he did not look great to start.
I like that. I tweeted it from the Clippers pod account. We love Big Zoo. Rough start. Norm Powell, I believe he also went 1 for 7 from 3 in the first game against the Suns.
Yeah.
That was rough. If Norm can get 2 quick threes to start this game, I will feel so much better about the Clippers hanging in on this one. And if they're well manufactured, good process, as we like to talk about on this pod.
I'm a little bit concerned that the defensive effort he had to put out, which was very good against Phoenix, against Booker and Beal a lot, took something out of his legs. It's one game, but 1 for 7 from 3, and he was short on a couple of them. It's like, this is what happens when you have to play defense.
Yeah.
Watching the short ones, I agree with you 100%, Adam. Like some of those shots made me wonder if he wished he was kind of back on the bench.
Be careful what you wish for. That's kind of what Brian Shaw was saying.
Yeah, that's true. And you look at, I mean, unfortunately for the Clippers, we're also playing a team that is not exactly shallow depth-wise.
Oh, I thought you meant like they judged everyone based on their looks.
No. Well, who amongst us? But the bench minutes might be, and also we have to play Russ.
I was going to say, how do we not bring up the most important X factor of the entire game?
Russ is either going to go 1 for 8.
Russ bench game?
Or he's going to put up 16, 12, and 10. And we're going to be the Clippers are going to be the catalyst for the 6th man of the year cheddar until he goes back to doing his normal thing. But I'm worried about that. There's not a lot of X's and O's to go off since they haven't played a game yet. But I'm worried about that. Strother is an absolute baller too off the bench for the Nuggets.
He was going at it with Jordan Miller in the summer league. So
yes, he can get a bucket. Ooh.
People think that, their reign is over. They keep losing a free agent every year. First it was Bruce Brown, then KCP. As long as Jokic is healthy, guys, they are a contender. They are in the mix. And if Jamal Murray has his legs and can do what he does against the Lakers against, the majority of the rest of the league, you're in trouble.
I mean, and like Aaron Gordon, who we just played a small team, right? The Nuggets are not a small team. The Nuggets are a big-ass team.
No, this is a terrible matchup for the Clippers as currently constructed.
It's even worse than it usually is in terms of matchups.
I mean, you got to start Kai next to Zoo, I guess.
Oh, no. We got to let Zoo shoot threes, and we got to
basically. So we have to stop everything because that lineup is just not scoring.
Sure. Yeah, I was thinking hard on some positives for this matchup, and it's difficult. Not because the Clippers are a bad team. We know they're going to play with defensive intensity.
The Nuggets also look at their home record. Like
even when they're bad, they're good there.
They take care of business at home.
I think the best thing that can happen for the Clippers is that Denver beats OKC tonight handily and looks like, hey, we're fat and happy a little bit. We're good. We got our signature win on TNT. That's what I'd like to see happen. So they take the Clippers lightly.
I like that. Okay. You want us to be underestimated.
I would like that.
I would prefer
They
that.
need that.
Yeah.
Media are doing it.
That's true. Well, now, okay, the other funny part about the Kawhi lawsuit thing is like Stephen A. Smith, right, complains that Kawhi is the worst superstar of all time because he doesn't play. He's gonna flip his narrative.
If he does, the receipt master may have to pull some clips.
The receipt master. The Clippers then are playing the Warriors, which feels better than playing the Nuggets. The Warriors did just beat the ever-living hell out of the Trailblazers, which isn't saying a whole bunch, but What I'm worried about in the Warriors game is the 3-point attempt battle. I don't think we're winning the attempt battle. And again, there's only one game of sample size. I'm not sure we're winning the percentages either.
Golden State took 48 threes against Portland. Holy jeez, and hit 20 of them.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
We do have a stratospherically better defense than the Blazers do. I think we can all agree on that. But Steph hates us. But the Warriors are also not a very big team. I'm grasping at straws here. We need to find something positive for this back-to-back.
I'm just saying, I can't believe they started Wiggins with Trace Jackson Davis and Draymond Green against Portland. I did not see that starting lineup coming. And they still have Kuminga. So, like, all those guys are what? What's Kuminga? He's the shortest guy out there, and he's 6'7".
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It's just Steph.
Ah, shit.
I didn't know that was going to happen.
Yeah, that's true.
What is this bullshit? Start Buddy Hield.
Come on, start Buddy Hield. It'd be fun.
Can you even coach Kerr? What, you think you're all high and mighty because you took down Portland 139 to 104 with that starting lineup?
You're Jim Park now.
I don't know. I'm worried about these games, guys. Both these teams. Because freaking Shane Young said they're going to win 51 games, the Golden State Warriors, and they're going to be the 3 seed in the West, when I was thinking the entire time, playing.
That's insane.
51 is
51 games is insane.
51 is crazy.
Tell Shane.
I did. I saw Shane. I
have.
Crazy. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because we've played one game and we already know the evergreen needs for the Clippers, right? Can't have a sticky half-court offense. Transition offense, keep it moving. Let's do our thing. Let's cause the turnovers. Let's get easier buckets. I said this on the stream. Messy defense leads to smooth buckets for this Clippers team. You muck it up on defense. You get the turnover. You make things difficult. You get, hopefully, an easier transition bucket on the end. They can't, when the offense has to stop in the half court, it's just so hard to get a bucket.
It's a grind. And not in the grindhouse sort of way. It's not cool. It's bad.
It's not cool.
Everything that happened in game one just confirmed how much the Clippers are short a shot creator right now, a reliable one next to James Harden, and how much they're missing Kawhi Leonard, like the half-court offense. I'm worried. James had to play 40 minutes already, and it's only the first game. Now we have a back-to-back coming up against good teams on the road. I don't know. We got to lean positive here. We got to find some positives here. Norm is not going 1 for 7 from 3. He's not.
Oh, yeah.
He likes the thin air.
Yeah. He says, I want less air. I want less. Yeah, I don't know. This one, Will, which matchup do you feel better about? Which one do you, because I think they're going to split.
I still feel better about the Warriors because, again, the construction and the size of the team, I think, is a little bit more. It's a little bit more in this current iteration of the Clippers, like what we're kind of more equipped to handle.
Okay.
I'll take the other side. I like Denver because they're first.
That's
and I worry about the second night of a back-to-back.
Interesting.
That's a good.
I mean, I think though in Denver, if things start getting out of hand, it's time to call it early.
You think the white flag comes out?
Maybe actually, you know what? The thin air is going to happen.
James Harden has to play both of these.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, there's no way around it. Like, unless you're, I don't know, unless you're fine to split and you're sure you can win that first one, James Harden has to play both of these games. So I think, if things get out of hand, it's time to call it. Maybe it's time to pull the plug maybe a little earlier than you would.
Which Ty Lue will do. Ty Lue will wave the white flag with like 9 minutes left in a game, and we'll see Jordan Miller win the game for the Clippers.
What was the game in Denver? I think in 2023.
Dude,
where the Clippers didn't. It was billed as a huge game. It's on TNT, and the Clippers were down 20 like in the first
I
quarter.
know exactly what you're talking about. It sucked ass.
And he pulled everybody, I think, in the second half. He didn't start his starters, I think.
Yeah. Oh, good. I'm just looking at some tweets. Noticeable difference in pace for the Nuggets 4 minutes into the season. They're playing faster.
God damn it.
Good.
The Russ effect.
Jamal hitting a spot up 3. Christian Braun looking good. Okay. All right, Adam. You're going to have some difficulty finding a positive thing to say at the end of this episode. But now the most important part, because again, our game previews, once we have actual stats and trends, are a little more in depth with the X's and O's and things like that. It's games 2 and 3 for the Clips.
Right
Adam,
now it's just hugs and kisses. No Rolex.
Straight up, we're giving out gold stars for anything at this point. Adam, since you had to go last time, who is your pick for the James Harden, Kawhi Leonard Player of the Game for both games?
Who was my last pick? Oh, it was Amir Coffey. He was perfect. He was
Great
perfect.
Pick.
Perfect.
Amir was phenomenal.
4 of 4, 2 of 2 from 3.
I picked
19
and 9. Pretty good too.
All right, not bad. I did talk up Big Zoo in the matchup against Nikola Jokic. I feel like I should go with Big Zoo, and they just have to start faster. They can't get down early, or else they are going to pull guys. I can't see that. I don't want to see that. This is game 2 of the regular season. We got to bounce back and just not just start to get that feeling that, while it's early in the season, they're going to have a lot of trouble scoring. I just need more consistency from their offense from the get-go so they can have that confidence throughout the rest of the game that we can create, that we can score out there, that it's not going to be the grind that Adam said it was going to be. That's what I need from this team. And I need Big Zoo, play through them. They tried early on. He did not perform very well and picked up those 2 fouls and was completely out of sorts.
Bounce back in the third quarter. That's what gives me faith, is the team really locked down on rebounding and causing turnovers in the third quarter. Will, who is your James Harden, Kawhi Leonard Player of the Game for the back-to-backs?
I'm going to double down and say Derek Jones Jr. again.
Hell yeah. We haven't even talked about him really
yet. Just talking about, I do think with these back-to-backs, like the younger, the more athletic guys are really going to have to show what they can do. And we know about the finishing. I hope that he can help things speed up. I hope that the 3-point shooting continues to be real. And he can be one of the tone setters defensively for this team. It's weird to pick him for 3 games in a row, but I liked what I saw. Game 1, we need a little bit more. And I think that, look, like these guys are the other rotation guys, like maybe not the highest ceiling players, are like what is going to get this Clippers team over the hump in a lot of games. It's going to be the minutes, how much you lose by when it's going to be how much you're losing by when one of Harden or Norm isn't on the floor. And so I think Derek Jones Jr. is going to be important if he's used with bench minutes, great. And if he does primarily play with the starters, like how much he helps them win those minutes by is going to be absolutely massive.
It's a good call. I'm going Terrence Mann. I think for both games, if they're going to have a fighting chance for both of them, Terrence Mann is going to have to take more than 1 3, grab more than a couple rebounds, and just push the pace a little bit as the ball handler, make good decisions in transition with it. Because I'm sure we're going to see a scenario where it's like, oh, things aren't working with the other points when, like you said, when Norm or James isn't on the floor and Terrence Mann is the guy who's been in the system the longest. This is kind of tailor-made. If he's going to make this jump this weekend, is a good litmus test for that, for this team.
He ended up a +7 in a game they lost by 3. That's impressive because he got subbed out he fouled out at the 2.5-minute mark of the fourth quarter before things took a turn for the worse. They caught up and tied it. Yeah, I like that call. When the Clippers are rolling in this era, it always feels like Terrence Mann has his fingerprints on it.
Yeah.
When they're playing well.
Mm-hmm.
And he might be pissed after fouling out too, because while the last foul was obvious, there were a couple in there that seemed kind of ticky-tack. That is a
Absolutely.
concern, guys. Like, they want to play physical on defense. Cool. Are the refs going to let you that night? How many free throws did Phoenix get? 35?
Yeah,
I know there
something
were
like
5
that.
extra minutes, but they had 30, and they might have had 28 after the fourth quarter. It's scary because it's just there's nothing you can do about it. You can't
It's legal
control
to
it.
play defense in this league.
It's a judgment call.
It's illegal to play defense in
I
this
felt
league.
like Phoenix got to play some defense. I'll tell you that much.
All right, let us know your thoughts on Twitter at Clippers Pod. Let us know your thoughts in the comments at Clippers Podcast on YouTube. We're going to be back. Maybe do a live stream after one of these games. We'll see what happens. Adam,
Somebody want
hardest-
to come on Saturday night on Clippers Talk?
let's do
Maybe
it.
they won't kick me out right away.
Saturday frickin' afternoon with how things are
Saturday
working.
afternoon. Yeah, let's make that work.
Will, before we get to the positive thing, where can people demand that their significant others and close family members listen to their podcast so they can finally relate to them? Oh, you're muted.
Berate your family members and significant others till they listen to this podcast. They can do such over at Apple Podcasts or Spotify or anywhere you get your podcast. Best place, though, to check this out is over at youtube.com/@ClippersPodcast. You can subscribe over there, see us on video, and you can comment on every single episode. So however you consume the show, though, hey, we appreciate you.
There we go. And Adam, one positive thing heading into this back-to-back against the Warriors and the Nuggets in reverse order.
I think Will said it earlier that, there's going to be a lot of these type of games this season. And while that can be looked at as a negative because they lost the one last night that they should have had, it does lend itself to an exciting brand of basketball where you always feel like your heart's beating out of your chest. And I think they're going to be much better in these situations. And hopefully it's game one, you learn from it, and it gives them the tape they need to make those corrections. And everything was very fixable with a lot of self-inflicted mistakes down the stretch. There's no reason that they can't figure it out. So get it out of your way. A bad loss like that only because you're up by 9 with under 4 minutes left. And don't make it a habit. Figure it out. And their defense is going to keep them in games this season. So we're going to see the Clippers in a lot of clutch time minutes, like Will said.
There we go. We will be back at some point on this weekend. And if not, we'll be back on Monday. I will be in Montana, which will be very fun. Thank you all for listening. As always, let's go.